So how does a lean leader know then what conversation to have, what questions to ask, what experiments to run? Because we're not prepared for that by the traditional business education. That's for sure.
Well, you have to start with purpose. Just here at the conference, had a nice conversation with a fellow who works in an organization that we all know well, and said we've really made a breakthrough that the CEO has been able to state a purpose for the organization that is other than his becoming richer. Okay? And this is a household name person, and the actual purpose of the organization was to make a rich guy richer. Said it turns out it's been very difficult to get alignment on this. And I thought, well, no, it's not difficult to get alignment at all. Everybody's facing the opposite direction. So therefore, you have to start with some way to say what is our purpose. And then we have a series of processes in an organization, we sometimes call them value streams, that are going to make it possible to achieve our purpose. And so we have to talk about that. What's our purpose? And then what's it mean for everybody? And it means we're going to have to do something to improve probably the way we organize ourselves and the way we get our work done. So that's the challenge, and that's easy, of course, for me to say, but just turns out to be hard for people to do. We do have some tools, however.
Well, and the whole dialogue around purpose has been left out of the dialogue here in the lean community, but not only the lean community, in the business community in general. Yes. And if you go back to the Sloan management that Jim mentioned, and perfected by GE perhaps, they did exactly what Jim said. You would set direction, and then you would set targets associated with that, and then get out of the way. Just get it done. However you want to do it, it's up to you. Set direction, and set targets. Whereas what you really need to do is establish alignment around direction. That's not just set direction. Establish alignment around direction. So as soon as you use those words, now you have to have a dialogue to establish alignment around direction, and then alignment around what we need to do, the activities to fulfill our purpose, to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. Measures, targets come next. They're important, but we tend to leave those out. But that's what's been taught in the MBA schools, and the same way America has led the way with the business, the industry of lawyers and attorneys globally. We have done something like that with the professional manager with MBA degrees in the U.S. as well. And so they've left a lot of this out. Now it's being incorporated, I think, in a lot of curriculum. And that will help, but it's actually how we then to bring this more inside organizations and how they work. So I don't know exactly the company Jim was talking about that you talked with here at this event, but of all the different organizations here, what we hear about is more and more of these kinds of dialogues. And what we can simply hope is that dialogue is not just words, but there are actions that are being associated with those. And that becomes our role in how, whether it's books or whether it's conferences or activities, training materials, that can actually help people learn how to do this.
And how might, if someone learns to do this, how might their, let's say, a day in the life of a lean leader, they're going to go out onto the Gemba, the shop floor, the office floor, the emergency room, whatever that happens to be. But this isn't just a walk now. This isn't just a Gemba walk. There's some standard work that, even the way you ask questions and have that dialogue has to change. Can you give us maybe some examples or of how that might change, or some tips about how to conduct a Gemba walk or not conduct a Gemba walk when you're out?
Well, I think, again, if you're focusing on the purpose, again, this word purpose applies at a high level, mm-hmm. but also just a day-to-day level, moment to moment. And if you focus on the purpose of the Gemba walk, or what you're doing with anyone as you conduct that walk, if you're wanting to establish alignment, and if you're wanting to achieve understanding of here's where we are, here's where we need to go, and here's a gap in between, what are we doing to close that gap? If you focus on doing that, I think the right kind of dialogue would begin to emerge. So you're no longer just trying to dictate activities and focus on the activities, you're wanting everyone to be contributing their own solutions so they can be closing the gap. So if you're focusing on the purpose, then I think those things start to emerge. And you start to see that happening, whether it's in manufacturing, or it's in healthcare, but also recently in government as well.
Well, it's very interesting how industry by industry has woken up both to the broken nature of the processes that they have, and the fact that they don't have a management system able to support the work. And most recently, not only healthcare has been hugely involved in lean, but public sector is beginning also to recognize that it's not simply about improving the effectiveness of the delivery of processes and services to customers, but it's actually focusing those services and aligning those services to help critical groups in society actually manage their lives better. And this alignment around identification of what are those critical groups and where are they and where should we target our efforts, and then how do we mobilize the different agencies to deliver the right kind of support to enable those groups to fulfill their lives. We're beginning to see some very impressive examples now in the public sector. And I think that's going to teach us some more lessons about how lean can actually help change people's lives and help improve and build communities that are more supportive and so on.